This is a story about what my daughter, when faced with the impossible, learned about the power of giving and what she can teach us all about how to find happiness. This story starts on one of the worst days of my life, October 14th, 2011. My daughter Summer was 15 years old. She had been having this pain in her hip. We had been bouncing back and forth between doctors and specialists, but nobody seemed to think it was too serious. And then her pain got so bad that she got an MRI. The results were devastating. Summer had a mass on her pelvic bone the size of an orange. A biopsy showed it was a rare form of sarcoma cancer. And that's not all. More tests showed Summer was already stage 4. The cancer had spread to her spine, her femur, her lungs. We had had no indication she was that sick. To understand how bad things got, you have to appreciate where Summer started this journey, which was already pretty darn low. Before cancer, Summer was most decidedly not a happy person. Even though she was tall, thin, and beautiful, she saw herself completely differently. Overweight, unattractive, and no matter how much we tried to tell her differently, she couldn't hear us. Sometimes it felt like she was born with no self-esteem. Schoolwork was hard for her. She battled depression. And now she had cancer. The girl who didn't think she had much further to sink found herself at an impossible bottom. I remember holding her one night as she sobbed hysterically. "Why me, Mom?" she cried. "I'm the only one. I'm the only one in my whole high school who has cancer." And she was right. I had no idea how to console her. When we'd go into the children's hospital for treatment, she'd keep her head down. She wouldn't talk to anybody. And she certainly didn't want to have anything to do with other kids with cancer. After her second round of chemo, her long, dark hair, the only thing she said she liked about herself started to fall out. She'd wake up in the morning and scream because there'd be huge chunks of it left behind in her pillow. Finally, she said she couldn't take it any longer, and she asked to have it all shaved off. Her twin brother, Jordan, her stepbrother, Jared, and 2 other family friends volunteered to have their heads shaved with her. We didn't know it at the time, but the shaving party would mark the beginning of what would become Summer's remarkable transformation of heart and spirit. Summer told me later that that was the first time since her ordeal had begun that she didn't feel so alone. People were patting Jordan's bald head as much as they were patting hers. She felt the power of that shared experience, and that would be important for what happened next. But before I tell you about that, I have to tell you about these purple bracelets that say Team Summer on them. Family friends had had them made up, and they were selling them. The idea was that half the money would go to help with Summer's medical expenses, and the other half to a charity of Summer's choosing. So far, Summer had shown no interest in choosing a charity, but the money was there. Now, sometimes in life, you've got to chase down opportunity. This time, it walked right up to us in the form of an 11-year-old bald girl. Summer and I had been sitting in the cancer clinic waiting room where Summer had made an art form out of avoiding eye contact with any of the other kids. But this girl walked right up to Summer. She said, "Hi, my name is Sarah. Can I borrow your iPhone to play Angry Birds?" Well, I really thought Summer would say, no. But she said, sure, and she handed it over. And as she watched Sarah play her game, Summer asked her questions. She found out that this was Sarah's second battle with cancer, the first when she was just 8 years old. I watched Summer's eyes widen as Sarah matter-of-factly filled in the details. They said I'd be okay if I made it 3 years, and I almost made it, and then the cancer came back, and now it's in my lungs. I hate chemo. After Summer and I got back to an exam room, Summer could not stop talking about Sarah. Mom, she's so young, and she's had cancer twice. We've got to do something. This was the exact tone and inflection that had gotten countless stray dogs and cats into our house over the years. But I was thrilled that Summer was interested in something other than her own misery. We brainstormed. We did have that bracelet money. What if we used some of it to get Sarah her very own iPod Touch? The money would be going to a good cause. And what better distraction from chemo than being able to play Angry Birds whenever you wanted? The whole idea of helping Sarah had Summer excited. A couple days later, Summer surprised Sarah with the gift. It was magical watching the two of them together. One bald girl helping another bald girl. Sure, it was about the gift, but it was also about the connection between the two of them. And Summer could see that she wasn't the only one. Unfortunately, there were lots of kids with cancer, and they were all around her. From that moment on, Summer was on a mission. Find more kids to help. And with that came a very different Summer. Her circumstances hadn't changed. She was still locked in a fierce battle with cancer, but she was changing. The more she focused on the other kids around her, the less she dwelled on her own situation. She talked to kids, got to know them, and then surprised them with special gifts. Something they'd always wanted, something to cheer them up, anything to get their minds off their treatments. Laptops for kids so they'd have a way to stay in touch with their friends while they were in the hospital. Fashion photo shoots for girls so they could see, even though they had lost their hair, they were still beautiful. Mega blocks for a young boy so he'd have something to do the night before his leg was amputated. Summer called her gifts icebreakers because she saw them as a way to say, hey, we're in this together. You're not alone. Summer was lit up from the inside, and everyone could see it. The more gifts she gave, the more people donated to her cause, which she called Team Summer, Kids Helping Kids with Cancer. And Summer told me that for the first time in her life, she could see her own beauty. And where before cancer she had no idea what she wanted to do with the rest of her life, now she was brimming with ideas. Take Team Summer nationally, be a pediatric oncology nurse, be a child life specialist. Sometimes I would sit back and say, who is this child and what have you done with Summer? And all this time, her cancer treatments were so tough on her. Multiple rounds of nauseating chemo, radiation that left her burned and exhausted, a very painful lung surgery. In one of her more difficult moments, I remember she sat up in her hospital bed and said, I need a kid, Mom, get me a kid. I knew exactly what she meant. She needed a kid to help, to get her mind off her own pain. I went racing down to the family room, chatted up a mom, and came back with a profile. Okay, there's a girl down the hall, 16 years old, osteosarcoma, very sick, very depressed. I could see Summer visibly calming down as she absorbed the details and started planning her gift. Maybe we could get her an iPad, then she could watch comedies. That always cheers me up. And that look of purpose was back in Summer's eyes. 8 months into this ordeal, it looked like Summer was winning her battle. Almost all the cancer was gone from her body. She was one more lung surgery away from being cancer-free. And then the cancer came back with a vengeance. Doctors found 5 tumors in her brain. While still giving gifts, she endured 2 brain surgeries. But the cancer kept spreading. Finally, the doctors told us that there was nothing more they could do for her. When we left the hospital for the last time, Summer said, "I wish somebody would tell me how much time I have left. I mean, is it 2 weeks, a month, a year? I need to know because I have plans."
Beautiful Savior, 8:38.
That came out. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to worship today. That was really long, but my goodness, how powerful is it? And there's more a little bit later. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to those of you who are watching online. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties, but it is the world we live in, I guess. We're going to keep trying here. So, yeah, last night, I normally get up about between 4:15 and 4:30, so I get ready. I redo my sermon one more time, and this morning I got up and I had to get a drink of water, so I went out in the kitchen and I looked up at the clock and it said 3 o'clock, and I thought, oh yeah. Well, you know what happened, right? Of course, that one is not like my phone. It doesn't switch automatically. So I went back into the bedroom. My phone was laying on the bed, and I looked at it and I thought, oh, no. So I ended up sleeping in a little bit, but we're all good here. So my name's Dave, by the way, and we're glad that you're worshiping here. That video has so much to do with today's lesson because I really think that today's lesson is all about purpose in life. And so today's lesson, and I have to tell you, like I told the group on Wednesday, I was half tempted to not read the lesson before I preach. Why? Because I know it so well. I mean, I've known it since kindergarten. You know the song, "The wise man built his house upon the rock." And to not read that lesson would have been a bad idea because there is so much there. So much. The wise man didn't just build on a rock. He digs down. Okay, would you please put up the slide? The Greek word is, oh, you can't. Okay, that's all right. That's okay. The Greek word for digging down here is batus. Okay, say it with me, batus. Okay, and it means, it doesn't mean just digging down, it means deepening or to go deeper. And so, and by the way, that same word as an adjective is often associated with the depths of the riches of Christ. And so the wise man doesn't just build on the rock, he deepens things. He goes down to places where you cannot see. And then he finds the bedrock. And he doesn't build there. Instead, he lays his foundation, still unseen, right? And then, finally, he builds the house that everyone can see. Foolish man doesn't concern himself with such things. He has no interest in the things you can't see or in deeper things. And so he just builds his house without a foundation. Doesn't say anything about sand in there, does it? Just without a foundation. And, of course, you know the rest of the story, right? The rains come, the floods come, the river overflows, and the one who has no concern for the deeper things, well, he's heading for a crash. Meanwhile, the one who has batus, dug down, deepened, found the bedrock, laid a foundation, his house, called life, will weather any storm. And mind you, my friends, the storms will come for all of us. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. There's more. I'm so glad I read this week. There's more because this story is not a standalone story. It's not a parable just in and of itself where Jesus just throws it out there. It is the end of a sermon. Jesus is preaching on a level place, it says. And by the way, it's a short sermon. It's only about 29 verses. You've heard of the Sermon on the Mount, right? This is called, and that's in Matthew 5 through 7. This is called the Sermon on the Plain. And like I said, shorter, but man, does it have punch. And everything fits together just like this in that sermon. It's so good. And then so Jesus, he preaches this sermon, and this story about building on the rock, on laying his foundation, building on the rock, this story is like the big kabang finish to the sermon. So, if you want to know what the rock is all about and what the foundation is about, you got to read the sermon, right? Because that's what he's leading up to. That's the big finish. It says, "Blessed are the poor. Blessed are the hungry. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are those who have no name among people who matter." Not because they're hungry, poor, mourning, have no name, but because of their situation. They know who they are. They know their need for deeper things. Here's where it gets interesting for us. Because after the blessings come the woes. Woe to you who are rich. Woe to you who have plenty to eat. Woe to you who are laughing. And woe to you who, I can't remember what the other one is. That's all right. Anyway, it's all woe, right? Not because you don't have these things, but because of that abundance. It's not because you have those things, but because of that abundance. That abundance, you've let it numb you to the deeper things. You've let it be like a Novocaine, a fuzz, so that you can't see those who are in need. You can't possibly see that the ones who are hungry, the ones who are thirsty, the ones who are weeping, the ones who have nothing, the ones who have no status, that they are God's greatest gift to you. And on that foundation, you can build a life of purpose, of love, and of caring. See what I mean? This story is all about purpose to life. The foolish man builds his house without a foundation. And that foolish man, All he cares about is how he looks in front of others. He has plenty to eat. He has wealth. He has all these things. But the wise man builds on that rock. The rock first, Jesus. Jesus gave his life for you. He is the model for everything that we are in terms of our purpose of life. And he does this unconditionally. He loves you so much that he dumps everything into who you are. And then the foundation. By the way, it occurs to me that if Jesus was talking to rich people when he says, woe to you. But it occurs to me that Novocaine, that not being able to see others, could also be what Summer was experiencing. She was so immersed in herself and her own pain at first that she couldn't see that the key to her life was somebody else. So first the foundation, Jesus Christ. There's the rock, Jesus Christ. And then the foundation. That foundation, the poor, the hungry, the mourners. That foundation is the enemy who hates you, the enemy who would do harm to you. That foundation is right there. As you give not only your coat, but your shirt to someone who is in need. And you expect nothing in return. And you love your enemy. And you pray for those who would harm you. The foundation is there. God has given you those people as a gift. Starting with the rock of Jesus Christ, who gave his life for you. And then the foundation of those who are in need. So that as Jesus saves you, you find purpose in life in those who are the least among us. Let's stop there and sing.
When we left the hospital for the last time, Summer said, I wish somebody would tell me how much time I have left. I mean, is it 2 weeks, a month, a year? I need to know because I have plans. I said, baby, nobody knows. If they knew, they'd tell you. But it's not 2 weeks. If it was 2 weeks, we'd know. Turns out, it was 2.5 weeks. Summer died on November 11th, 2012. She was at home, surrounded by all her family. She was only 16 years old. The silence in my mind and heart was deafening. But I knew that the only thing worse than losing Summer would be also losing what she started, Team Summer. So we went back to the kids she gave gifts to, and we said, okay, now it's your turn. You find a kid with cancer who's scared, sad, or lonely, and you be the giver. Give as many gifts as you want. We raised the money, and they gave the gifts. And then the kids that they gave gifts to became the givers. And then those kids became givers. And the whole thing snowballed from there. I'm often in the background when a kid gives a Team Summer gift. And after a while, I noticed something that surprised me. I found I was watching the face of the giver more than the receiver. I recognized that same sense of purpose and satisfaction that I had seen on Summer's face. These kids weren't acting like victims. They had the same glow Summer had had. Was it possible that the kids giving the gifts were getting even more out of the program than the kids getting the gifts? One mom told me, with tears streaming down her face, that the only time she saw her daughter smile during her brutal brain cancer treatments was when she was giving a Team Summer gift. She gave 10 in all. She says she thinks Team Summer saved her daughter's life because without it, her daughter would have just given up. Giving made her daughter stronger. You'd think it would be just the opposite. If you give, you have less. But giving gave her more. And the same thing happened with Summer. What that tells us is that there's an important force at work here. And it's not the mystical, magical power of Summer Dale. Summer herself vehemently resisted all efforts to put her up on a pedestal. She knew this wasn't about her, but about something she had tapped into, something we all can. I did. Helping our Team Summer kids is how I've survived losing my daughter. It's how I'm standing here today and not in a crumpled heap in the corner. But do we have to be broken in two, like Summer, like me, to get this? Absolutely not. But it does seem like it's our pain that shakes us out of our complacency, drives us to drill down to what's important. The late songwriter Leonard Cohen put it this way: there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. We all have cracks. Maybe you haven't lost a child or battled a deadly disease, but we'll all be brought to our knees by something in this life. The light that comes through that crack is the gift of empathy and compassion. Our ability to look around the waiting room like Summer did and finally see all the suffering around us. The light allows us to make eye contact, to reach out and help our fellow human beings. I used to take at face value the saying, "You've got to give to get." But now, I don't think that's right. I think it's this: you've got to give to be happy. And that changes the very nature of what we give. Yes, we still help those in need, but what if we didn't stop there? What if we then looked for ways to help those people become givers? That's what our friends did for us with the purple bracelets. Remember the premise? Half the money for medical expenses, the other half to a charity of Summer's choosing. They opened a door for Summer to become a giver, and look what flowed from there. Every time our Team Summer kids give a gift, they're also saying, hey, you're not a helpless victim. Now you can help kids with cancer too. And from everything I've learned, that gift of giving is the greatest gift of all. And it all starts with one person choosing to become a giver. I challenge you to be that person. And if you're tempted to believe that your life circumstances are such that you couldn't possibly give a thing, think about Summer and all the kids who have come after her. If they can do this, so can you. Go, find somebody to help, and then watch for the magic. I'm telling you, it'll make you happy.
I should just quit there, but I can't. We're all cracked. And the crack is the place where the light comes through. We're all hungry poor, mourning, without. We all have these things in our lives. Maybe it's not physical hunger, but it's a different kind of hunger. Maybe it's not a poverty of the wallet, but a poverty of the heart. It's all there. And Jesus says, look for those things, because there's where you'll find the deeper things in life. Not the stuff that we use to cover it up. The wealth, the status, all those kinds of things that Jesus talks about in the woes. But the deeper things are found there. In our own poverty, in our own hurt, in our own trouble, in our cracks. Because there the light can shine through. I've been thinking about this. You know, this Lenten season, we are giving our Lenten offering, and I'm hoping, folks, that we can come up with $5,000. I don't know why I picked that number. Last year was 13, and exceed it, please. We're going to give it to Project Ask. Because, and for those of you that don't know, Project Ask is Algona Schools Care. And it's run by the counseling team, fabulous team of people in our school. We have some amazing professionals, and I'm not saying that because the administrator is here. We have some amazing professionals who love kids and care about kids. But you know, and you've heard me say this before, this pandemic and has had far-reaching effects on our children. And it's not enough to just let it go. They are God's gift to you. And with them, through them, they are the foundation on which you can build a house of purpose. I've been thinking about that a lot. And you know, the girl gives an AirPod Touch, and you think, well, that's kind of frivolous, kind of silly. I don't care how they use this money in Project Ask, if it brings kids together in a new way, if it helps them heal. But I've also been thinking about our youth program here, and maybe the youth program around the community, youth programs. You know, what we used to do, I don't think is going to work anymore. I think we've always done youth activities as sort of a fun diversion. But maybe we need to do what summer does. Maybe we need to develop something where they see that their own cracks are the lights through which God shines. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what this means. We're going to have a conversation in the next few weeks. And anybody who's interested, you come and see me. And if you don't come see me, I'm going to call you, because this is important. It's so important. But you know, it has to start somewhere. How about you?